Hey everyone, it's Evangeline here at eTrailer, and today we have the RockyMounts HighNoon FC 2-bike platform rack, 4-1/4" hitch receivers. So after you select your bike rack from all the other options of bike racks, and later on in this video we'll compare it with the bike racks behind me, we're gonna start where you start, installing it on your car. This happens in your garage or in your driveway. Let's go. When you store this in your garage, it doesn't stand on its own, so you may have to lean it up against something or install it into something. But once you get your bike rack, you then just bring it over to your car. It's not that heavy, it's less than 40 pounds, so you just need to lift up and put it into the hitch receiver. Notice the ball on top, that's going to fit into your receiver and give you some extra anti-rattle support once you have the bolt installed. So let's get in there and line up the hitch pin hole. Some people like to put a line on the shank if they're only installing it on one car, because that's how they know it's all lined up with the hitch pin hole. But get your anti-rattle bolt, pop that through the hitch receiver, and tighten it down. You have a wrench included with this rack that you use to tighten down that bolt, but I personally recommend using a 3/4" socket and a wrench, just because it's so much faster that way, especially when you have limited bumper clearance. Put the lock on, take the key out, put the cover on, and that's it. You're ready to load up your bike rack and hit the road. Let's talk about bikes. What type of bike do you have? And we didn't really start with that because this can carry most of them, but we'll go over some measurements just in case. First thing is weight capacity. This has a 60-pound weight capacity for your heavy electric bikes, and it can also carry different tire sizes. So when we flip this up, you can see that it has grooves for those different tire widths. This has the front wheel hook, and your hook also has a strap for the fenders. So we're just going to undo that for now. There is a rear wheel cradle, and this pivots back and forth for those different wheelbases. Minimum wheelbase is 36 inches, maximum wheelbase is 52 inches. Press the lever, take out the strap. I like to tuck it into itself so it's out of the way of the spokes. And if you have a fat bike of up to 5-inch wide tires, you can use the included strap adapter to lengthen this strap to go over it. While it's awesome that it has that 60-pound capacity to carry heavy e-bikes, the downside to that is you still have to carry the heavy e-bike. So this bike is about 55 pounds. You're gonna want the heaviest bike closer to the vehicle, and then the lighter bike away from the vehicle. We'll get this on there, taking advantages of the tray on one side to get ourselves into a better position. We just need to get it up and into the cradle. Make sure it settles back into that wheel chock. Then I'm gonna grab our hook and get it as close to our fork as possible. Since we have the fenders, we're gonna go as close to the end of the fender as we can get it. Then grab your rubber strap, go under the rim, over the hook, pull as tight as you can get it, and then fit it over the tab. And if you know this is going to be the bike you're going to carry around often, you can go ahead and cut off the excess strap. There's also a bottom wheel strap, and this goes over your rim and into the hook below. Final step is to get that strap over your rear wheel, into the holder, and pull it tight. If your battery is removable, please remove it from your electric bike, not only to make your bike weigh less, but also to preserve the life of your battery. That can be stored inside of your vehicle while you transport the bike. Just double check that everything is secure, and then get your second bike on. If you thought dealing with the straps took a little bit of time and was a hassle, the good news is if you don't have fenders, you don't have to deal with the straps. You just get your hook as close to the front fork as you can get it, and if you want to, you can actually remove the strap completely. We now have our two bikes loaded up, so let's see how it all rides and take it out onto our test course. We're going to be looking at how the bikes sit on the rack, but also how the rack sits in the hitch receiver. Let's go. Going on to our test course, we're going to go on to the speed bumps, and first we will do the alternating speed bumps. This has a twisting movement so that you can see if you go and hit a curb or hit a pothole, how your bikes will work. Now we have our full speed bumps, and this simulates going up a curb, in and out of your driveway. Now we're going through our slalom, and this is our quick and evasive maneuvers for if you have to make sudden turns or sudden U-turns. Will your bikes be able to hold on? Comparing the movement of the bikes as well as the bike rack with the movement I've seen from a lot of other platform racks, everything is relatively sturdy and stable. Yes, there is more movement of the electric bike, some back and forth there compared to our mountain bike, and that's because that front wheel hook is not as close to the fork as the mountain bike. But with the extra straps, I'm still very confident that it's still sturdy and it's not coming off of the rack anytime soon. So I borrowed the 2-inch version of the HighNoon for a bike ride with a friend, and there are 2 key features that were really helpful for me, especially when we went to go out to eat after our ride. And the first feature is the tilt away. There's a lever underneath, you pull the bike rack and you tilt the entire rack away. That way you can reach into your trunk or open up your hatch. For us, we needed to grab our helmets and our waters, so this was very convenient. This tilts your bike rack away 30 degrees. So for your smaller sedans and shorter hitches, this means you're gonna have to crouch down when the bike rack comes down. And when you lift up, I do recommend holding on to the frame of the rack and not the bikes to give you that support to lift up and into position where it catches. Another feature that was really helpful was the security feature. So when we did go to eat, I was thinking, hopefully my bikes are there when I finish eating. And this gave me that peace of mind. So you're gonna have a 5-foot long cable. There's gonna be a steel cable on the inside, but it is wrapped, so no worries, the steel does not make contact with your bikes. It's kind of a shorter cable, shorter than I would prefer, because I like to secure both front wheels as well as the frame. But if you can make that work depending on your bike size, awesome. If it's just the frame, that is better than no cable at all. Fortunately, there is a welded bracket if you do want to use your own cable lock that is longer or something you're more familiar with. Now for this cable lock, it fits into this tab on the side of the rack, and then you use your hitch lock to secure it. You get 2 of these, one for your cable lock, one for your anti-rattle bolt. These are key to like. You get 2 keys, but you only need to use one of them to access both of the locks, and they are interchangeable. As with pretty much any cable lock though, I do not recommend driving around with the cable lock attached, just because that means there will be more touch points on your bike, and just attach the cable lock when you're parked and take it right back off before you drive. I did say we'd compare the RockyMounts HighNoon FC with some other bike rack options. So let's take a look at our 2 similar bike racks. One is going to be, of course, the RockyMounts monorail. The HighNoon FC is an upgrade to the monorail. Very similar in design, very similar in looks and functionality, but the HighNoon FC has fender capability as well as a longer wheelbase capacity. From 50 inches on the monorail, you now get 52-inch wheelbase capacity with the HighNoon FC. For another brand, we have the Ceres Super Clamp. And this I would say is very similar because it also has fender capability. The downside to the Super Clamp FC though is because it has a dual wheel mount design where it secures it by the front and the rear wheels. If you do have fenders, it's further down, so you also have to use the wheel straps. So that's 4 touch points you have to work with. And that can be a little bit of a hassle if you are carrying around bikes that don't have fenders. Plus, you are dependent upon the placement of the other bikes. So it can be tricky to carry those bikes of different shapes and sizes versus the HighNoon FC, which is really easy to put one bike on and then the second bike without having to figure it out separately or take more time. So if you're trying to decide between the classic RockyMounts monorail and the new HighNoon FC, go ahead and get the upgraded version. And if you're trying to decide between the HighNoon FC and the Sarah Super Clamp, if you want something that's even more compact and lightweight, go with the Super Clamp. If you want something that's easier to use and has a faster process, the HighNoon FC for sure. So hopefully this video helped you out with learning more about the rack and bike racks in general. And if you want more information, we have a lot of videos, pictures, and product descriptions here on our website to help you out. So this was a look at the RockyMounts HighNoon FC 2-bike platform rack, 4 1/4 hitch receivers,